And now, here's your host, Alessandra Torresani.
This is a very special episode of Emotional Support because I am here with Emily Bolt, who is not only an actress or an actor, another fellow podcaster, I'm like doing the list, a mother, but also a friend of mine who I've met through my whole motherhood experience. And so this episode is just gonna be really fun. So if you feel like, hey, I don't know what to expect in this episode, expect to be one of the gals hanging out, listening to some gossip, some neighborhood chat, if you will, and just some exciting things about how you being Emily, have dealt with being a mom in the business, working, having jobs, figuring it all out. So Emily, first and foremost, welcome to Emotional Support.
Thank you. Spoiler, have nothing figured out.
Although I will say you have more figured out than I would say 99% of the people in my life that I know who and 99% of the people who I don't know who are moms, because you first of all, your daughter is gorgeous and amazing and vibrant and the best personality. She's hilarious. And I've just been so lucky to see her grow up this past year. And I just feel like, yeah, you may not feel like you have it together, but none of us really have it together. And at least you have it together in the sense where you're like, well, I know that I can provide for my child. Like that's something that a lot of us are just like, what do we do next? You know, kind of a situation. Yes. So I want to get into this. How did you, when you were younger, decide like, you know what, I want to be an actress? Because it is a job that I have to be completely honest. If I didn't start when I was like 9 years old, I would have no idea how to get into it. And I'm in this point right now in my life where I'm in between, representation. I'm in between life with SAG going on and the strike going on of the unknown. I'm in a complete unknown phase of my life. And I'm just like, how does one start? So for those who maybe are inspired and want to become actors or be in this entertainment industry, how did you do it, from all the way in St. Louis?
Yeah, for the Midwesterners or people who are not growing up, like, because you grew up out here also. Right. But it sounds like such a dream to me to be like so close, because growing up in Missouri, I didn't have any people to look up to that like were actually in where the industry, it was like making a living.
Yes, where it was like, oh my gosh, this is totally realistic. I can grab onto this. Like it's just a job. Yes. Right, exactly.
But I also never thought that it wasn't. So I was in a very, I still think in a very just in my own, like, well, it's just gonna happen.
You're like a delusional state is really what it's called. Yeah.
It's like I'm just living in my own world, believing what I want to believe.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Your mom was a theater teacher, right? She was.
Yes.
Right.
So my parents actually met in college doing a musical together. So they met doing Godspell, and so my parents met there, obviously got married, had kids. So they're always very in the arts. My dad worked at a bank growing up, and he's always been a watercolorist. So he's very artistic, and now that's like what he does for the most part. Tim Bolt watercolors.
I love that Tim Bolt.
Check it out.
Yes.
But and my mom, growing up, my mom was my high school drama teacher.
Oh my gosh, was that cool? Or was it also like, Mom?
It was all I knew. So, but so I'm the youngest of 3 girls. So my oldest sister, Sarah, is 6 years older, and she's an incredible singer. And so she always did the musicals at high school. And like, I grew up seeing my parents do musicals every once in a while. So they would do like community theater. So I knew it was something you could do, but not necessarily for a living.
It wasn't like a pipe dream that was so out of the world, where it's like all of a sudden your parents are farmers and you're like, I have no idea how to live this dream, and I want to play Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Like, how do I make this happen? It's like you saw like, oh, this is something that there's a passion behind, that you can actually work towards a goal to putting on a production, putting on a show. Right.
Absolutely. Like growing up, taking dance lessons and being in community theater, and just seeing my older sister, both of them do musical theater. And of course I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I still played sports for like, barely.
For funsies.
But not even fun, but whatever.
I do.
But yeah, having my mom as my high school director was always, it's funny because people are always like, so did you always get the lead? And I'm like, no.
Yes.
No, I didn't.
No.
My oldest sister did, though.
Oh.
So I was always a little like, the heck. But then also my oldest sister, being Sarah, went to college. So she's 6 years older, whatever that makes. So I'm still in middle school.
Right.
And she majored in musical theater.
Wow.
And went on to like tour and was on Broadway. So like seeing that, I was like, oh. By the time she was on Broadway, I was in college already majoring in acting, getting my BFA. I did all the auditions for colleges, and for financial reasons, ended up going to Missouri State. And my first year, like, I so didn't want to go there, and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right. But a state school is good option. Look, I mean, it's great.
I mean, it worked out because so then I did have to audition, because I didn't even know that they like had a program.
Sure.
So then during my first year auditioned, and then graduated in the 3 years with my BFA. And went on from there.
And then did you come to LA? Were you like, LA is the place for me? Or did you go to New York first?
Well, actually, the first year after graduating, for a year, I was on tour with a children's theater.
Wait, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was wild. Now thinking back on it, like explaining what it is insane. It's called Missoula's Children's Theater. It's based out of Missoula, Montana. So I went to Missoula, Montana right after graduating college, trained for 2 weeks with like a bunch of people. And then me and my partner, Lauren, we went on tour, and it was just the two of us. It was a Ford F-150 truck. And in the truck, we had the lights, set, costumes, props, our luggage, everything you need for like a full
production
musical. And so we would go to a different town each week. We would get there. We would like drive on like Saturday, Sunday. Mondays, we would have auditions at like the community theater or a school. And a lot of times it was like a town of like no one. But then sometimes like hundreds of kids would come. So we would audition and cast 60 kids in we did Jack and the Beanstalk. And we would have like maybe 4 hours of rehearsal after school in like different chunks for the kids.
Sure.
And then on Friday or Saturday we'd put on the show.
And then you would go to the next town?
That's go to the next
crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And who was in charge of all of this? Like
us. Me and my partner.
But did you guys start did you start it? This
Oh no, it's the company's called Missoula Children's Theater. So they have like a whole base. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I always want to J.K. Simmons.
Okay. Simmons. Yes.
He actually did it. And there's like a documentary about it, which is really actually amazing. I think it's called The Little Red Truck.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so it's been around for a long time.
What a brilliant idea though, to bring but it's so cool to bring creativity, to bring the theater to places that maybe have never, experienced that before, or B, maybe there is that one kid that it's like, this is going to change my entire life, and how, and their whole, maybe they were going to go and, I don't know, work in the farm. I'm all about the farm right now. I really want a farm life, so I'm like pushing the farm. No, but I mean, maybe they were going to have a normal 9-to-5 job, and then they're inspired by you. I mean, that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and they would look forward to it every year because they would come every year, and it was a cool thing.
My gosh. And so then when you saw your sister on Broadway, was there ever a part of you that wanted to be on Broadway like her? Or did you know, wow, I don't have the singing pipes that she has? Or also, I have a lot of friends that are on Broadway, and the respect that I have for Broadway actors or the crew in general, but it is just the hours and the grueling energy, and you have no life. I don't know how people have families. Was there a part of you that was wanting to be a part of that, or you were like, nope, this isn't for me?
Honestly, growing up, I think before wanting to be an actor, I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I am a singer, and I taught myself to play the guitar, so I would do open mic nights and things like that, and loved that. But I'm not a belter. I don't have a Broadway.
It's so specific.
I think my voice would it wouldn't.
It's not the proper fit. Right. It's not the proper fit. It's not the proper fit.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, went and saw Taylor Swift, and part of me was just heartbroken for myself, because I was like, God, I could have been Taylor Swift.
Right. And no, I know I feel like, it's so funny. My mom always talks about it. My mom always wanted to be a rock star. That's what she always wanted to be. She always wanted to be in a rock band, and she wanted to be on a stage in a rock star. Didn't have the singing vocals for it. Didn't play instruments. But that was something that she in her heart was in a past life, I must have lived this life, because I know I have such a I'm so drawn to it, and for me, have no desire to be a singer, but I have a desire being a dancer to be on stage and perform. So I'm I feel like that Broadway is not that far off, in the sense where it's if you become really famous, you kind of can get away with being on Broadway, even if you're not a great singer. So there's that, right? There's that moment. I know.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's what the fingers are crossed for.
Yes,
so that's what I've always laughed about, where I'm like, oh my God, that's a dream. I just have to get really famous, so then people don't really care what my voice is like, that they're going just to see me. So that's the goal that I'll put out there. When you came to LA, were you like, how do I get an agent?
Kind of. So I did go. So after being on tour, then I did go straight to New York.
Oh, cool.
Because my sister was there. So I was easy. I was kind of between LA or New York, but I was like, well, my sister is in New York. I'll just go to New York. So I was there, and I love New York, and I miss all my slumber parties with my sister. We didn't live together, but I was only there for 1.5 years.
Wow, but still, it's a great time. It's a great amount of time.
It was so great, and day job working. I had my nannying and hostessing, but I was going out on open calls, and didn't really know what I was doing, and I was auditioning for musicals with I should not.
Right.
Looking back, I was like, what was I? How was I not embarrassed? But but we do what we do. But so I think it was September-ish, and I reached out to my friends who were out here, a couple of my close guy friends who were in my BFA program. I was like, hey, what's it out there? And what's the vibe? How's it going? And one of them, he was actually well, also, what's New York like? So we just swapped apartments for a month. Oh my
gosh, how fun.
So so I was like, well, this works out. So then I came out here.
What a dream. That does not happen.
It really worked out. Also, if you're gonna swap apartments with a boy,
make sure it's clean.
Lay down some stuff. Yeah, there was just like a mattress on the floor in the corner. I was like, oh god.
Oh my god.
Whereas my room was just
gorgeous.
Like, yeah, had furniture.
Yeah.
It wasn't my furniture, but it was
furniture.
Yeah, but so being here for a month, I just hustled a lot more than I did in New York, just because I was like, I don't really have anybody out here. So I was just like going. And I was like, okay, I guess if I'm trying more out here, then I guess I should
be out here.
So then I just like went back to New York, finished up October in New York, and then I moved back to St. Louis for like 10 months to save up, get a car, and then drove it out here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. How fun. And did you know anyone when you were out here other than the few people from your program?
I knew, so I moved in with a couple girls who went to Missouri State also.
Oh, that's nice. I really would recommend that for anyone. Like if you did go to a college or even in high school or something, if there's people that are in a place that you want to be, that's what you should do is
reach out.
Yeah, reach out, because you know what? It's like a built-in friendship. Even if you don't get along with them like for a long period of time, at least it's like a home base.
Yeah. Yeah. So I shared a room with my friend Addie, and I was on an air mattress for like 2 months in Venice. And
fun.
Then she was like, I'm out of here. She was like, forget it. Yeah. So she skedaddled. And then so then I moved into a house in Sherman Oaks with people I didn't know, and then eventually met my now husband, and we moved in together.
How did you guys find each other?
A girl that I trained with at Missoula Children's Theater in Missoula, so I trained with her for 2 weeks, never saw her again. Because we don't
that's what you did.
tour together. We just trained, and I guess we were Facebook friends or whatever. And so once I moved out here, she was like, "Hey, she was from Orange County, and so she reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm doing a web series about 2 girlfriends and dating, and do you want to be the other girl?" And I was like, "Duh!"
Great.
And so I went and met with her and the crew and everyone, and Preston was there. He was doing the camera work, and then he also kind of played my bad boyfriend in it. And of course I was asking my friend, because he's a good looking guy, and I was like, and we hit it off right away. We went out to eat with everyone in the show, and I was just like, oh my god, I hope he saves a seat for me, because I don't want to sit next to anybody else. And then he did. And so but then of course I'm asking my friend okay, but what's wrong with him? Why? She was like, nothing, he's great. Oh, he does still live with his mom.
No.
And I was like, that. And I was like, got it. And I was like, that's not a deal breaker. So we met, I guess, the end of August or September or something like that. And then our first date was the end of October. And then back then he was just focusing on screenwriting.
Right.
And so he was like, well, I want to move to LA anyway. So December had already moved up here. I was like, don't move for me. But he did. And then the rest is history. Then we moved in a year later, and yeah.
And now you have a baby.
And now we have a baby. Yesterday, one of my phone was 3 years ago today, and it was us eating pizza on the floor in our living room because we didn't have furniture yet. And it was we had just moved into this place, and I was like, 3 years ago. And I was like, how the world,
I know
how I've changed.
No,
that is
no, truly
wild.
I mean, change is is inevitable. I know that, but it seems to go so much faster. And, you know, I used to be so annoyed when I met people and they're like, oh my God, you know, you have a newborn. Oh my God, enjoy it. It goes by so fast. Like, I'd be like, oh, fuck yourself. Like, I hated people would say that to me because I'm like, let me enjoy my moment, you know, let me enjoy my shine.
Yeah.
And then I feel like now I caught myself yesterday. We went and got dinner, and there was a woman who had a 1-month-old, and she was holding this 1-month-old at dinner, and she was out with her girlfriends, and they were so cute. They were having a good time. And she was like, oh my God, how old is your baby? Everyone always thinks that lady's like 6 months old. And I'm like, no, she's so 14 months old. I know, she's so tiny. And she literally looks like a little doll, and she doesn't have like long hair, you know, or anything. And I'm like, yeah, no, they're like, oh, she's 6 months. I'm like, yeah, she's 14. And I put her down and she like runs, you know, and people are like, whoa, that's so crazy. I'm like, is it? Like, I don't know. Like, she just looks small.
It's funny because now I'm just going to sidetrack onto Lady because she's so cute. She's literally like a tiny. Yes.
Yeah, that's what's so
like
crazy.
She's just a small
She's
human.
just small. Like, she's just like a doll that you like pick up and you're like, boop, there you go, plop her right there. So this woman was so cute. She was like, oh my God, you know, I you know, this is so fun. I can't wait till, you know, he gets that age. And I said, and I caught myself because I was like, I was going to be like, oh, it goes by fast. And I stopped myself because I was like, that's the fucking worst advice. But I said, what I did say to her is I said, always bring your baby out with you. Always bring your baby to dinners, to out with your friends, like with your husband. Like, don't stop your life. I said, this makes me so happy. She's like, oh, I know this is his first like dinner with the gals. Like, it was so cute. It was like a very Sex in the City situation, and they were out. Yeah. And I said, just keep doing that because honestly, it'll make your baby more adaptable. It'll be more fun and more enjoyable. And you'll remember these moments so much more with your friends that you have. Like, I remember moments that I have with my friends so much clearer because I remember when Lady was there, then this happened, you know? So that's my, my advice that I'm going to just say right now.
Well, and I'll say that is something like I so admire about you because
that I just drag her along with me. Like,
yes, it's amazing because I
get in the car. We're going shopping.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be like, oh, I don't have enough time, or she's gonna have to nap, and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, we have to remember that they, you know, within reason, but it's like
within reason,
are
yes,
adaptable. It's like they can adjust to us. Like we don't have to change our entire lives around our babies. Obviously, your life is going to change.
Well, and obviously there are babies that thrive in that situation, like Lady, like she thrives in that world, and some babies need super structure, need to be bed early, like need that stuff. So it's not for everyone. Yeah. I wanted to say something that you posted yesterday, or maybe it came up on my algorithm yesterday. And I was like, oh, this is such great advice for people in general. But you were talking about how you and your husband took the baby to the pool and you guys forgot like the water diapers or towels or a change of clothes or something.
All of it.
And sunscreen, and that you had to turn around and like go home, and that, you know, there's this thing called mom guilt, right? Where you always feel like, oh my God, I forgot this. And constantly I feel it all day long. So don't worry. I'm right there with you. Yeah. But how there's not like dad guilt. Like, why is dad not upset about it? But what I found from watching that video, and I watched it a couple of times because it was like, I was like, you know, what's hitting me that this video is really like triggering something inside me, is I feel like it happens with everyone, whether you have a kid or not, right? I'm the kind of person, I lose my keys 3 times a day. I always forget something at home. And especially when it came to being on set, like I always get to set early, or I always get to auditions early, but without a doubt, I always forget something, right? That's just like how I am. And I feel like it's all about forgiveness, and whether it be with the mom guilt, dad guilt, your own guilt of like, why am I not organized enough as a person? Why didn't I do that? Yeah. And what I find, what I would like to share with you is take that breath and to anyone who's listening, it's about taking that breath and going, okay, you know what? I fucked up today. It's okay because we're alive. We're healthy. We are here on this earth. Let's laugh about it. And maybe there's a reason why we weren't supposed to go to the pool today. Maybe there's a reason why, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's like God, but I mean, it was too hot. You know what I mean? Maybe someone would have gotten overheated and then there would have been a bigger problem. Maybe there would have been a sunburn. There's always a sequence of events. But I think that it was just so nice because I love when you post these things. You have such a strong TikTok in the sense where, and a social media presence of like, saying these real life situations that happen to you and like relatable things, and everything you post 99.9% of the time, I'm like, I'm right there with you, girl. I get you. I hear you,
That's good.
And everyone can hear you and everyone can understand. But I think it's beyond just the parent thing. And I think, for our mental health and our mental well-being, whether we're parents or whether we're single or whether we are dog parents or cat parents or pig parents, getting back to a farm, whatever you may be, it's about forgiveness, taking that moment, taking that breath. Something that we do in our music class that we're in together, which is the highlight of my week, is our teacher has a sound bath that she brings out. And it's so interesting because every week I feel like the kids have a different reaction in the sense where one kid will like get that moment and be like, oh my God, this is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. Or another kid will be like, and like go crazy to it and like love it, but like be like, and then something that I learned that Lady started doing, because she started not only copying our teacher, but one of the other mom's daughters, is she now takes big breaths, right? And so, and it's so important to regulate our nervous system. And yesterday I was pushing her on the way to dinner and in the stroller, and she just started taking these deep breaths out of nowhere. Not prompted. No, there was nothing around us, nothing. And I thought, oh, there's something in her that she needs to regulate her emotions, and she's doing the breathing. And I was like, this is crazy that this is happening right now. And so I started breathing.
Well, and then you wonder, like, why?
And you're right. I was like, why? We're out in nature.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But we were in nature. I was like, maybe she's seeing the birds. Maybe she's feeling the trees because everything is alive.
Maybe she's getting ready for dinner, for being around people.
She's getting ready for dinner, for being around people. Exactly. You don't know. But then when she started doing it, I started doing it. I was like, okay, all right, ladies, let's take some deep breaths. So I was like, okay, lady, let's breathe. And we started doing it. And I was like, you know what? This is just a reminder that we need to just stop and we need to breathe. And we need to take moments of pause and realize that not everything is going to be perfect. We're not going to always have the things that we need in the diaper bag. So if this happens to you again, have her go naked in the pool. Ask some other parent at the pool, because I guarantee you someone else has SPF. Yeah. And you know what? She goes naked in the car ride home. We were born naked, and that's it. Yeah, like, go with it.
Fine.
Well,
and that's the thing that, like, and that was one of the reasons why I shared it. And like something else.
And I want to thank you for sharing it, because it was it was a moment where I've been through all the time, and it taught me to like reflect and like be like, wait a second, not everything has to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, and part of it was just like, why am I having such a visceral reaction to this? Like, I know I need to take a breath. I'm like, I don't want to be. This is stupid for me to be just mad at myself. Sure. I also don't want to be mad at Preston for whatever.
Why didn't you do it? Right.
Yeah. So I didn't want it to be like, well, it's not just my fault. You could have packed the bag. But I did have that moment because I knew that that's where it was going, that I was like, I know I'm feeling this way.
Sure.
I'm feeling badly. And then I'm deflecting it, whatever, putting it on him.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I don't want to do that. So I just told him, like I posted, I just want to say the situation that's happening, that I feel bad, but I feel like you're apologizing to our daughter on my behalf. And he's like, no, I'm not. He was like, yeah, we definitely could have both done. He's like, it's not on you, it's not on me, it's not that big of a deal. Like,
but isn't it interesting how as moms, and I, you know, I don't even think that it's just moms. I just think it's maybe our personalities also, you know, because I know a lot of moms who will be like, man, whatever, like, and just move on, and like it's not even phasing them, right? Like it doesn't phase them. But it's interesting how I find this all the time in my relationship. It's one of my biggest issues. And not just with Sturgis, with other people in my life, where I'm constantly convinced, and maybe it's like childhood trauma of like being bullied or something, but like I'm constantly convinced that the blame is always on me, or I wouldn't even say the blame is always on me. That's not the right thing. That it's like I'm being judged. The judgment is always on me, right?
Yeah.
I always felt very insecure, you know, going out at night. Like at first I'm like, I look hot. I look amazing. Like I go for it. But like, I always was sure that something was on my butt, that I had like a stain every time I went out. And so my friends would always laugh with me. They're like, Al, nothing's on the butt. Nothing's on the butt. Like my best friend Jenna, she would always check, because I was like so convinced. I was like, oh my God, there's something there. Like something's, because I would be like, if someone's looking at me, it must be because there's something there. Like there's something on my face or whatever. And so it's interesting that you talk about with Preston on how you were like, I just feel like he's judging me, and he's being like, it's your fault, because I feel that way if something happens, right? If, for instance, lady like loves to run at full speed, and sometimes she'll like crash and fall, and I'll be like, oh my God, you know, and I'll look at Sturgis and he'll look at me like so scared, right? Like, oh my God, is she okay? But I take it as, is he judging me that it's my fault that I let her wear those socks?
She was on your watch.
And that's why she was slippering, you know? So you're not alone in that feeling. And you're, and I feel that way with moms, with my husband, with other people in general. Everything. Like, even with family, you know what I mean? Like I'll be around family and lady won't want to eat something, or she'll like throw something because she'll be like, no, I don't want this. And I feel like judgment from everyone being like, you're a terrible mom that you didn't teach her how to eat correctly. You know what I mean? And you're like, and that happens all the time in my life, I'm sure in your life as you're expressing, and in everyone's lives, especially moms. And it's, once again, it's that thing, like, we need to just like be like forgiveness. And the more open you are and the more you talk about these things, I'm like watching being like, yes, that's true. And I know that other people are going to pick up on that and be like, yes. So yes, Emily, like we are here for you.
And I think everyone, regardless of trauma, no trauma, if you got a perfect life, like, because nobody does, I think everybody should be in therapy. And I have said recently, though, because of that situation and then another situation, I was like, ooh, because my therapist moved, and so I was no, okay, I think I need to find a new one.
Sure,
it's time to find one, because even something like yesterday, I'm the one who gets up with May 90% of the time. I'm a morning person. It's fine. Preston usually sleeps, he's usually up later. He's working later, all of that. He gets up 6:45 or something and does breakfast, blah, blah, blah. Me sleeping in was until like 8 or 8:30. So I come out, it's 8:30, I guess. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. And I lost my mind. I knew I was having a horrible reaction, so I was like, I didn't quite act on it. He might disagree, but I was like, I was fuming. I was like, no, this isn't fair. You don't get to go back to sleep. Like, when I wake up, I don't go back. I don't take naps. And I was like, you're gonna still complain about being tired. It was a whole thing. And I was like, ooh, I need to get back in therapy, because I am having a visceral reaction to this situation. Right. And I'll do that where it's like, I react like very quickly. And so I was like, okay.
That's the Gemini in you.
Yeah, right. The triple Gemini in me. Yeah. So I was like, time to get back in to that therapy. Let's figure all that out.
Yeah, I think it's so funny how we find these moments where it's like, oh my gosh, ooh, this doesn't feel like the real me, and this feels like someone that needs to talk through something or needs to like go out and just take a deep breath or meditate.
I don't know if it's just me because I, have nannied for a bajillion years, which also went out the window as soon as I had a baby. Yeah. But do you find it hard to not micromanage Sturgis?
I micromanage all day long, and that's life.
I don't
like you deal with it.
I'm always like, am I terrible at this? But
no. I'm also a control freak just in general. Like when it came to before having a baby, where like to the point where like I don't like getting out of control with drinking. I don't like getting out of control. That's why I never did drugs, because I was so afraid of being out of control. And so we always laugh like if we have a dinner or something, right? I'm like, we have to be out the door. We always get places 30 minutes early, right? Because that's just, it's better to be early because being early is on time and being on time is late, Right. And Sturgis doesn't follow that model, So it's very, very tricky for us. So he always laughs. He says, we got to put in the matrix what time we're leaving for Alessandra's matrix, like for her brain, like, because that's just, I think mathematically, and I have to like go by numbers. So it's very tricky. So no, you're not the only one in the micromanaging. Like it definitely happens. Well,
and then, I mean, once you have a baby also, you have to like add on at least 20, because if I'm like, okay, we need to be out the door at 12:30, it's like, okay, so I'm gonna say 12.
Yes, because honestly, you need the extra time with the kid and more as they get older. But also, I've also learned to be, and it's been very, very hard for me. But I've also learned just to say, fuck it, whatever time we get there, because at the end of the day, I have a child. I'm trying to make sure I don't want to rush my child to then get in a car, to then be rushed in a car, to then, God forbid, knock on wood, something happened in a car accident or something, Yeah. So, like, I also have been like, fuck it. If we don't leave super early and it doesn't happen, then that's it. Like, go with the universe.
Yeah, because you don't want the whole, like, get ready, go. We're trying to go somewhere fun.
No, and I also don't want ladies stressed about it. So that's why something that I do a lot of the time is if I feel like maybe Sturgis is still working or something and I need to get somewhere and I'm like, I'm going to be less stressed if I get there first. You know what I mean? And early, instead of rushing him and rushing the whole family, like Lady and I will maybe go for a walk or go there a little bit earlier and then he'll meet me. Or hey, you know what? You don't have to come to Disneyland for the 30 millionth time this year. Stay at home. We're going to leave at like 6 a.m. and go early. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that happens a lot where it's just about giving grace, right? Like we said earlier, and about breathing and just going, you know what? It's not going to be perfect. It's okay. Yeah. That's life. How is it, for moms or, dads or parents out there just in general, or people, you are someone that has so many beautiful, beautiful jobs in your life that you do, and you work with children. Well, no, but you work with children and you do an amazing job with it. And point blank, we have people in our class that their kids have taken your class. And when you are not around, let me tell you, they are like, Emily is magic. And she has brought like my child out of their shell. So, you do this. How do you find not even the time, but the energy to be a present wife, a present mom, a present teacher, and a present person for yourself?
Ooh, I'm not at all of them at the same time.
Right.
That's the thing. I don't like the term balance because it makes it seem like everything needs to be even.
No.
So I'm not present in every aspect of those at the same time.
Sure.
And so that helps.
Yeah.
But
honesty.
I'm like, I'm not great at all of it all the time. Or just hopefully any of the time.
Yeah,
great at it.
And that's okay.
Yeah, but I will say, for teaching, for my day job where I make my income, I have really lucked out since May has come along, because I used to, I would work at a preschool all day, then I would go nanny, then I would like work out or whatever. Like, looking back, I'm like, how did I do all of this? And I have lucked out that I've figured out a way to no longer nannying, except for like one close friend. And to be honest, my new schedule that is like just coming to be starting like the next couple weeks is I'm only actually working like 15 hours a week.
Great.
And making it work, like my day job stuff, and making that work financially. This was not your question, but he does audiobooks, so I have to have less time being out of the house so then he can record. So I think we're finally, she's 14, almost 15 months now, that like now I think we're going to have a schedule between the two of us work-wise, that we're both going to get enough work done, both working. Honestly, I mean, God, I feel like an asshole even saying like I'm only working 15 hours a week, but to be able to do that, like, I'm so grateful. Like, that's that's incredible, because I don't know how people do 9 to 5 and have kids.
No, I don't understand it. And it's I'm so blessed that I have been able to, through the SAG strike, like through everything that's going on right now, been able to have a job of having a podcast. Like, that's why, for those who are listening, reviews are really important. Listening is really important. Subscribing, sharing, because this is my quote unquote job at the moment. And I am so lucky that I have a partner that is not in the business and is not dealing with this, because I have so many friends who have both in the business right now and are parents, and it's just scary times, right? It's very scary. So it's really, we're so lucky, and it's great. And what a great time, and what a fun age right now is. I mean, it's all been great, but it's kind of really a fun age of seeing the discovery of words and singing and movement. And so it's really special that this is happening at this time for you too. It's not just the, as they call it, which I never felt this was right, like the blob stage. I was like, they're not blobs, but people are like, people are like, oh, she's just a blob right now. I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she's a fucking human being. But,
I think,
but the stage
I
of
get
the
that
newborn,
people in,
where it's really hectic and it's overwhelming, and it's like you're not getting anything back from them. So you're like, are you getting what I'm giving? Like, are you understanding? Are you loving me? Am I your mother? That
What's
whole
happening?
experience, like, what is happening? So I think that this is a really special stage for you. But I want to talk about Mommywood, the podcast. This has been such an amazing podcast. I've learned so much from different moms that you've had on, who are in the business and who are struggling like us to do everything all at once and still be the perfect mom. Can you let everyone know what Mommywood is about?
Yeah. So, as an actor, as a woman, I just kind of, it's, being a mom isn't something I was like dreamed of and always wanted. I mean, I guess I just kind of always
thought it would happen.
Assumed I would have a kid. I don't think I would want to not have a kid.
Right.
So I think, but being an actor, it was like, oh, well, how am I gonna do that?
Where's the time?
Because it's like, well, where's where's the time? Where's the money? I'm not going to be like the fear of like not being able to audition or not be able to book something like work because I'm pregnant or because I have a baby or all of the fears. And then just being like, well, I was 34 when I was like, all right, I mean, we want a kid. I guess I gotta do this. Like, you can't like put your life on hold forever. So I was like, well, let's try. We'll see what happens. And we were very lucky. It was wham, bam.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. And so we were like, oh, well, there we go. And then I was just like,
now what?
How are people doing this? And like, I had so many questions for everyone.
Yeah.
Being like, okay, so what are you doing? How are you self-taping? Are you taking time off? What did your agent say? What is so all of these questions that I was like, can I just ask people and I'll just put it on a podcast? Because I can't be the only one who has these questions.
You are not the only one.
And then I was like, well, and hopefully somebody can find a sense of community with me asking these questions and
totally
getting the answers that are not like perfect. It's like everyone and people being in different phases of their career and their life and ages and financial stability. Which is always one of my like main questions. I'm like, I wish it wasn't rude to just ask people how much
do you make?
Excuse me, when your baby was born, exactly how much money was in the bank? Because it's like you make it work. And so Mommywood is just a place for people to come and hopefully feel community, hopefully get some questions answered
and have some laughs.
Have some laughs. And even for people who don't have kids, who might think of having kids, I would hope it would alleviate some fear too, because at the end of the day, pretty much everybody I've talked to has been like, no, I just kept auditioning. My agents were fine and had a baby, then worked while I was pregnant and worked after I had the baby. And it's like, oh, right.
It's like,
you were saying, it's like you still live.
Listen, I still live my life. It's so funny talking about like resilience, right? And like being a person in the industry and being pregnant. I found a video of a self-tape that I did. I was like going through looking at old pictures of Lady and stuff, and I found a video, and I put myself on tape for an audition 10 days postpartum. And right after that was when I had severe complications of the bleeding wouldn't stop. And then I had to go check myself into the hospital. And it was that weekend that I put myself on tape, and then everything happened. And I thought, it's resilience. Like when you want a career so badly and you want to have a baby and you want to do it, you do it and you figure it out. Now, do I recommend what I did by putting myself on tape 10 days postpartum when you're bleeding and then are checked into a hospital for unknown complications? Like, no. But I never say that I regret things, but I'm upset with myself that I didn't just stay in the present and listen to my behavior now, or the things that I say now. But I think that there is a will and there's a way, and people figure it out all over the world. Everyone has babies, whether it's the lowest income or the highest income. And it's all about community and finding people. And I was so lucky to find you on a walk and create this friendship. Yes, we have the best meet cute, and we have these adorable little girls that are going to grow up together, which is so fun.
Oh, they're going to be
wild,
forces to reckon with.
Terrors. They're going to be like terrorizing the neighborhood
in the best way possible.
They're going to be like they're the most. We have really fun kids. I'll just say that our music class has
who run the world. Girls.
Yeah. I'll say our music class has the best kids in the entire world. They are so fun. Like, it's a good time. Emily, I'm going to ask you my final question. What is your emotional support?
So many things.
Yeah.
definitely, well, I would say therapy, but I gotta get back in there. Whoops. I think my husband, I think Preston, and I think the support and people around me.
Yeah.
Like having you, having music to go to, having people I can reach out to.
Yeah.
And I will say it is work to have that, to have people.
Yeah.
Because we aren't given this village that people say comes with, you know, becoming a mother. It's like it's not a given. So I think we definitely have to work and put yourself out there and ask people on the street for their phone number.
Honestly, can I say that if you take anything from this podcast, take the fact that Emily and I literally were walking our babies. They were fresh out the womb, like fresh. And we ran into each other on a walk. How old's your baby? How old's your baby? And then we went back around the block and Emily asked for my number. And I'm so happy you did, because I was going to ask for your number if we saw you a second time. And I was like, oh, I'm sure we'll see them again. But honestly, I think that for new moms everywhere, or even people who move to a new city, you know, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm new here. I don't know if you're looking for friends or support or anything, but if you ever want to go for a walk, I'm always around, you know. And
then follow up.
And
keep following up. I'm the annoying one who will just keep texting until we plans.
And we did. We planned and we started a music class, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And it was the best experience. Emily, how can everyone find you?
On TikTok and Instagram, I am Mommywood Podcast.
Love.
And then you can listen to Mommywood Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast.
Woo!